Rachelle Rodriguez stared at her phone screen, her hands trembling as she read the message for the third time. The words seemed to burn into her retinas. My son deserves better. Leave before I make you. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow, I've saved something extra special for you. She was sitting in the small kitchen of the apartment she shared with Daniel, her husband of 2 years. The morning sun streamed through the window, illuminating the breakfast dishes still scattered on the table. Just moments ago, she'd been humming to herself, planning dinner for Daniel's return from his business trip. Now, everything felt different. At 29, Rachelle had thought she'd left behind the insecurities of her youth. She'd built a successful career as a graphic designer, owned her mistakes, and learned to stand tall in her own worth. But this text from Patricia, her mother-in-law, cut through all that confidence like a knife through paper. Rachelle's phone buzzed again. Another message. Don't think I don't know what you're doing. Daniel could have married someone so much better. The apartment suddenly felt too small, too quiet. Rachelle set down her coffee mug with shaking hands, coffee sloshing over the rim. She grabbed a dish towel and wiped mechanically at the spill, her mind racing through the past few months. Had she done something wrong? Patricia had always been cool toward her, but this felt different. This felt like a declaration of war. Rachelle thought back to last Sunday's family dinner. She'd arrived late because of a client emergency, and Patricia had made pointed comments about punctuality and commitment. Daniel had squeezed her hand under the table, silently supporting her, but he hadn't confronted his mother. He never did. Her phone lit up with another message. Rachelle's stomach churned as she opened it. I'm watching you. One more mistake, and I'll make sure Daniel sees who you really are. Rachelle dropped the phone onto the counter as if it had burned her. Who she really was? What did that even mean? She was a woman who loved her husband deeply, worked hard, paid her bills, and tried to be a good person. What more could Patricia want? The rational part of Rachelle's brain told her this was manipulation, a controlling mother unable to let go of her son. But another part, a smaller, quieter part that remembered every childhood slight and teenage rejection, whispered that maybe Patricia was right. Maybe she wasn't good enough. Rachelle walked to the living room window and looked out at the street below. People were going about their normal lives, walking dogs, carrying groceries, chatting on phones. Everything looked so ordinary, so peaceful. How could her world be crumbling while everyone else's remained intact? She picked up a framed photo from the bookshelf. It was from their wedding day. Daniel looked handsome in his navy suit, his arm around her waist, both of them laughing at something the photographer had said. Patricia stood at the edge of the frame, her smile tight and forced, her eyes cold even in that moment of celebration. Rachelle had noticed it then, but convinced herself she was being paranoid. Now she wondered if she'd been ignoring red flags all along. Her best friend Sophia had warned her. That woman doesn't want to share her son with anyone, she'd said over brunch 6 months ago. Watch your back, Rach. Rachelle had left it off. Patricia was just protective, she'd reasoned. Time would soften her. Love would win out. How naive she had been. The apartment door suddenly opened, making Rachelle jump. Daniel walked in, his overnight bag slung over his shoulder, his face breaking into a warm smile when he saw her. Hey, beautiful. I caught an earlier flight. Surprise! He dropped his bag and moved toward her for a kiss. Rachelle forced herself to smile, tucking her phone into her pocket. She couldn't tell him about the texts. Not yet. Not when he looked so happy to see her. Daniel already walked a tightrope between his mother and his wife, and Rachelle hated being the one who made him choose. How was the trip? She asked, letting him wrap his arms around her. Exhausting. 3 days of presentations and meetings. All I wanted was to come home to you. He pulled back, studying her face. Are you okay? You look pale. Just tired, Rachelle lied. Long night working on the Morrison project. Daniel kissed her forehead. You work too hard. Let me take you out to dinner tonight. Anywhere you want. Rachelle's phone buzzed in her pocket. She knew without looking that it was Patricia. The weight of it felt like a stone pressing against her hip. That sounds perfect, she said, meaning it. Maybe one normal evening would help her figure out what to do. Maybe she could pretend, just for tonight, that everything was fine. But as Daniel went to shower, Rachelle pulled out her phone. One new message waited. Dinner at my house Sunday. Don't embarrass Daniel this time. And we need to talk about your future with my son. Come alone at 2 p.m. Saturday before the family dinner. Rachelle's heart hammered in her chest. This was it. Patricia was making her move, and Rachelle had less than 2 days to decide how she would respond. Rachelle couldn't sleep that night. She lay beside Daniel, listening to his steady breathing, her mind spinning through memories like a broken carousel. When had Patricia's dislike begun? Had it always been there? Or had Rachelle done something to ignite it? She remembered the first time Daniel had brought her home to meet his family, 3 years ago. They'd been dating for 6 months, and Rachelle had been nervous, wanting desperately to make a good impression. She'd worn a conservative blue dress, brought homemade cookies, and practiced conversation topics in the car. Patricia had opened the door with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "So you're the girl Daniel's been spending all his time with," she'd said, her tone making it sound like an accusation rather than a greeting. The house had been immaculate, a showcase of Patricia's perfectionism. Every surface gleamed, every pillow sat at precise angles, every family photo was positioned just so. Rachelle had felt like a smudge on a clean window, something that disrupted the carefully maintained order. Daniel's father, Robert, had been warmer, shaking her hand enthusiastically and complimenting the cookies. But even he seemed to defer to Patricia on everything, checking her expressions before offering opinions, falling silent when she spoke. Over dinner, Patricia had interrogated Rachelle with surgical precision. Where had she grown up? What did her parents do? Where did she go to college? Each answer seemed to disappoint Patricia in some subtle way. Rachelle's childhood in a working-class neighborhood, her father's job as a mechanic, her state school education rather than an Ivy League pedigree, all of it fell short of some invisible standard. "Daniel went to Princeton," Patricia had said, as if Rachelle didn't know. "He was top of his class. We had such high hopes for his future." The implication was clear. Rachelle was not part of those hopes. Now lying in the darkness, Rachelle wondered if she had recognized the warning signs then. But Daniel had been so attentive, so loving, assuring her that his mother just needed time to warm up to her. "She's like this with everyone at first," he'd said. "She warmed up to my brother's wife eventually." But 2 years of marriage later, there had been no warming. If anything, Patricia had grown colder, more critical. She commented on Rachelle's weight, her hair, her clothes, her career choices. She forgot to include Rachelle in family text chains. She planned events without consulting Rachelle's schedule, then acted wounded when Rachelle couldn't attend. The worst part was how subtle it all was. Patricia never yelled or made obvious scenes. Everything was wrapped in false concern, backhanded compliments, and plausible deniability. "I'm just trying to help," she'd say. When Rachelle looked hurt, "I want what's best for Daniel." Rachelle rolled over, looking at Daniel's peaceful face in the moonlight. She loved him so much, it physically hurt sometimes. He was kind, funny, supportive of her dreams. He did dishes without being asked, remembered the little things she mentioned in passing, and made her laugh when she was stressed. He was everything she had ever wanted in a partner. But he had one fatal flaw. He couldn't see his mother clearly. Daniel had grown up under Patricia's thumb, conditioned to seek her approval, to believe that her love was conditional on his success and obedience. He'd spent his whole life trying to be perfect for her, and that need for her validation was baked into his bones. Whenever Rachelle tried to talk about Patricia's behavior, Daniel got defensive. "She doesn't mean it that way," he'd say. Or, "You're being too sensitive." Or, "Can't you just ignore it? That's what I do." Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time. So if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now, back to the story. Rachelle looked at her phone, at the threatening texts from Patricia. She needed to show them to Daniel. But what if he didn't believe her? What if he accused her of overreacting or trying to drive a wedge between him and his mother? She heard footsteps behind her. Daniel stood in the doorway, rumpled and sleepy. "Can't sleep?" he asked, moving toward her. Rachelle closed her laptop quickly. "Just restless. Go back to bed. I'll be there soon." But Daniel sat down across from her, studying her face. "Something's wrong. I can tell. Talk to me, Rach." This was her moment. She could show him the texts, tell him everything, and hope he would stand by her. Or she could keep protecting him from the truth about his mother, keep suffering in silence, and hope things somehow got better. Rachelle's hand moved toward her phone, then stopped. She needed to think this through more carefully. Patricia had asked her to come alone on Saturday. Maybe Rachelle could handle this herself, woman to woman, without putting Daniel in the middle. "I'm just stressed about work," she said finally. "The Morrison project is bigger than I thought." Daniel reached across the table and took her hand. "You're the most talented designer I know. You've got this." Rachelle squeezed his hand, guilt churning in her stomach. She hated lying to him. But she told herself it wasn't really a lie, just a postponement of the truth. Saturday arrived too quickly. Rachelle stood in front of her closet, trying to decide what to wear to battle. Because that's what this meeting with Patricia was. A battle for her marriage, her dignity, her right to exist in Daniel's life. She rejected outfit after outfit. Too casual, and Patricia would criticize her for not taking things seriously. Too formal, and she'd seem like she was trying too hard. Too colorful, too plain, too young, too old. Everything felt wrong. Finally, she settled on dark jeans and a crisp white blouse. Professional, but not stuffy. Confident, but not aggressive. She pulled her dark hair back in a neat ponytail and applied minimal makeup. She wanted to look like herself, not like someone trying to meet Patricia's impossible standards. Daniel was at the gym, his Saturday routine. Rachelle had told him she was meeting Sophia for coffee, another lie to add to her growing collection. She hated what this situation was turning her into. The drive to Patricia's house took 20 minutes. 20 minutes of Rachelle rehearsing what she wanted to say. She would be calm, but firm. She would set boundaries. She would make it clear that the threatening texts were unacceptable and that she wasn't going anywhere. She pulled up to the large colonial house in the upscale neighborhood where Daniel had grown up. The lawn was perfect, the hedges trimmed with geometric precision, the flowers arranged in color-coordinated beds. Everything about Patricia's life looked perfect from the outside. That's how she liked it. Rachelle sat in her car for a moment, gathering her courage. Her phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "You sure you don't want me to come with you? I can hide in the bushes like backup." Despite her nerves, Rachelle smiled. Sophia always knew how to lighten the mood. She texted back, "I've got this. We'll call you after." She hoped that was true. Patricia opened the door before Rachelle could knock, as if she'd been watching from the window. She was dressed impeccably, in cream slacks and a silk blouse, her silver hair styled perfectly, her makeup flawless. At 62, she was still beautiful, in a cold, untouchable way. "Right on time," Patricia said, stepping aside to let Rachelle in. "I appreciate punctuality." The dig was immediate. Rachelle thought of the family dinner where she had arrived late because of work. Patricia never forgot a transgression. "Thank you for agreeing to meet with me," Patricia continued, leading Rachelle to the formal living room. The room was like a museum. Expensive furniture that nobody really sat on, decorative pillows that were never disturbed, a white carpet that had never seen a spill. Rachelle perched on the edge of a stiff sofa. Patricia sat across from her in a high-backed chair, her posture rigid, her hands folded in her lap like a queen granting an audience. "Would you like tea?" Patricia asked. "No, thank you. I think we should just talk about why I'm here." Patricia's smile was sharp, direct. "I suppose that's one of your qualities. Very well. I'll be direct too. You need to leave Daniel." Rachelle had expected this, but hearing it stated so baldly still felt like a punch. "I love your son. I'm not leaving him." "Love?" Patricia said, her tone dismissive. "You're 29 years old. What do you know about love? You've known my son for 3 years. I've known him for 33. I know what he needs, and it's not you." With respect, Daniel is an adult. He can decide what he needs. Patricia leaned forward slightly. Can he? Or has he been manipulated by a pretty face and the fantasy of playing house? Daniel has always been susceptible to projects, to fixing things. That's what you are to him, a project. He thinks he can lift you up to his level, but eventually he'll realize you're dragging him down. Each word was calculated to wound, and they found their marks. Rachelle felt her face flush, her hands clench in her lap, but she forced herself to breathe, to stay calm. I'm not a project. I'm his partner. I have my own career, my own life. I don't need Daniel to lift me anywhere. A graphic designer, Patricia said, making it sound like a hobby rather than a profession. Daniel makes 3 times what you make. He went to Princeton. You went to a state school. He comes from a good family. You come from, delicately paused, different circumstances. You mean I'm not rich enough for you, Rachelle said flatly. You think I'm beneath him. I think Daniel deserves someone who matches his achievements, his background, his potential, someone who can be an asset to his career, not a liability, someone who understands his world. Someone like who? Someone you choose for him? Patricia smiled. Actually, yes. There's a young woman I've known for years, Caroline. She's an attorney at a prestigious firm. Her family and ours have been friends for decades. She and Daniel would make a perfect match. They share the same values, the same goals, the same breeding. Rachelle stared at her, understanding dawning. You've been planning this. You have someone lined up to replace me. I've been planning for Daniel's happiness. Yes, Caroline has always had feelings for Daniel. She's been patient, waiting for him to come to his senses, and he will once you're out of the picture. This is insane. Daniel married me. He chose me. He made a mistake. People make mistakes. The question is whether you love him enough to correct this mistake or whether you're selfish enough to cling to him and ruin his life. Daniel pulled back, his face set with determination. Now I talk to my mother. This ends today. Daniel insisted on going to his mother's house immediately. Rachelle wanted to go with him, but he asked her to stay home. This is between my mother and me, he said, kissing her forehead. I need to make some things very clear to her, and I need to do it alone. Trust me, okay? Rachelle did trust him, but she was terrified. What if Patricia manipulated him? What if she convinced him that Rachelle was lying or exaggerating? Patricia had decades of practice controlling Daniel. Could he really break free of that in one conversation? After Daniel left, Rachelle tried to distract herself. She attempted to work on a design project but couldn't focus. She turned on the TV but couldn't follow the plot. She cleaned the already clean kitchen, reorganized a closet that didn't need organizing, and checked her phone obsessively. 2 hours passed. Then 3. Rachelle's anxiety grew with each passing minute. Was that a good sign or a bad sign? Long conversation could mean they were really talking things through, or it could mean Patricia was wearing him down, changing his mind. Finally, at nearly 9 o'clock, Daniel came home. His face was drawn, exhausted, but his eyes were clear. How did it go? Rachelle asked, almost afraid of the answer. Daniel sat down heavily on the couch. It was intense. My mother and I had a very honest conversation, maybe the first truly honest conversation we've ever had. What did she say? At first, she denied everything, said you were misinterpreting things, being too sensitive, creating drama, the same thing she always says. Daniel's hands clenched into fists. But I didn't let her deflect this time. I showed her the texts on your phone. I took screenshots. I told her what you said about your meeting with her. And I told her that if she wanted any relationship with me going forward, she needed to tell me the truth. And did she? Eventually, after a lot of defensiveness and tears and guilt trips, she admitted it. She doesn't think you're right for me. She's been trying to drive a wedge between us, and yes, she's been encouraging Caroline to pursue me. Hearing it confirmed, made Rochelle's stomach turn. Caroline, is she someone you— No, Daniel said firmly. She's an old friend of the family, someone I'd known since college. She made it clear she was interested in me back then, but I wasn't interested in her. I started dating you. End of story. I haven't led her on or encouraged her in any way. But apparently my mom has been. What do you mean? My mom has been telling Caroline that my marriage is rocky, that I'm unhappy, that I might be open to reconnecting with her. She's been inviting Caroline to family events and trying to create opportunities for us to be alone together. I thought it was just my mom being friendly. I didn't realize it was orchestrated. Rochelle felt violated, as if Patricia had been reaching into our marriage and trying to dismantle it from the inside. What did you say to her? I told her that what she's done is unacceptable, that she's disrespected you, disrespected our marriage, and betrayed my trust. I told her that you are my wife, that I love you, and that she needs to accept that or accept that we won't have a relationship. Rochelle's heart soared with hope, but Daniel's expression remained troubled. What did she say? Rochelle asked carefully. She said I was making a mistake, that I'm blinded by infatuation, that one day I'll wake up and realize she was right, but by then it will be too late. Daniel's voice cracked. She said I was choosing you over my family and that I would regret it. Daniel, I never wanted you to have to choose. I know, but Rach, that's what she's forcing me to do. She's made it impossible for me to have both a relationship with her and a relationship with you. And when forced to choose, I choose you every time without hesitation. Tears spilled down Rochelle's cheeks. I'm so sorry. I know how much your family means to you. You're my family, Daniel said, pulling her close. I've spent my whole life trying to be perfect for my mother, trying to earn her approval, trying to make her happy. And it's never enough. She always wants more control, more say in my life, more power over my decisions. I can't live like that anymore. I won't live like that anymore. What happens now? I told her that she needs to apologize to you, sincerely. Not a fake apology where she says, I'm sorry you feel that way. A real acknowledgement of what she did wrong. And she needs to respect our marriage going forward, which means no more interference, no more manipulation, and definitely no more threats. Do you think she'll do that? Daniel was quiet for a moment. Honestly, I don't know. My mom doesn't apologize easily. She doesn't admit when she's wrong, but I made it clear that those are my terms. If she wants to be part of my life, she has to respect my wife. And if she doesn't, then we'll have to set some serious boundaries. Limited contact, no more family dinners, real consequences for her actions. I won't let her keep hurting you, Rach. I mean that. Rochelle cried in his arms, overwhelmed with relief and gratitude and lingering fear. Daniel had stood up for her. He'd believed her and defended her. But would it be enough? Would Patricia really change, or would this just drive her manipulation deeper underground? I love you, Rochelle whispered. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for standing up for us. I love you too, and I'm sorry I didn't see this sooner. I should have noticed how she was treating you. I should have protected you better. You're protecting me now. That's what matters. They held each other in the quiet apartment, two people against a force that seemed unstoppable. For the first time in weeks, Rochelle felt like maybe, just maybe, they could survive this. But she also knew that this was just the beginning. Patricia wouldn't go down without a fight. The real battle was yet to come. A week passed without any word from Patricia,
No texts, no calls, no surprise visits. The silence was unnerving. Daniel checked in with his father, who confirmed that Patricia was fine, but processing things. Robert seemed uncomfortable with the whole situation, caught between his wife and his son, unwilling to take sides. "She's hurt," Robert told Daniel over the phone, Rachelle listening on speaker. "She feels like you attacked her." "I confronted her about her threatening my wife," Daniel corrected. "There's a difference. Your mother has always been protective of you. Maybe she went too far, but her intentions were good." "Dad, good intentions don't excuse bad behavior. She needs to apologize to Rachelle." Robert sighed. "You know how your mother is. Give her time. She'll come around." But Rachelle wasn't sure she wanted Patricia to come around. Part of her hoped that Patricia would simply remove herself from their lives, making everything easier. But she knew Daniel wouldn't be satisfied with that outcome. He wanted reconciliation, wanted his mother to change, wanted everyone to get along. Rachelle was less optimistic. At work, Rachelle threw herself into her projects, finding solace in projects that had clear solutions, unlike the messy emotional situation at home. Her boss, Karen, noticed her distraction during a team meeting. "Rachelle, can we talk in my office?" Karen asked after the meeting ended. Rachelle followed her, worried she'd been slipping in her work, but Karen's expression was kind as she closed the door. "Is everything okay? You seem stressed lately." Rachelle considered lying, maintaining her professional facade, but she was tired of pretending everything was fine. "I'm dealing with some family issues. My mother-in-law and I are having problems." Karen nodded knowingly. "Say no more. I've been there. My ex-husband's mother made my life hell for years. It's one of the reasons he's my ex." "I'm sorry. That must have been terrible." "It was. And the worst part was that my ex never fully stood up to her. He always tried to keep the peace, which meant I had to tolerate her abuse." Karen leaned against her desk. "Can I give you some advice? Don't let it fester. Deal with it head on, set firm boundaries, and make sure your husband is really on your side. Because if he's not, it will eat away at your marriage until there's nothing left." Rachelle thought about Daniel's confrontation with Patricia, his promise to protect her. "He is on my side. He confronted her about her behavior." Good. That's a good start. But confronting her once isn't enough. He needs to maintain those boundaries consistently, even when it's uncomfortable, even when she cries or guilt trips him. That's the real test. Rachelle left Karen's office feeling both reassured and worried. Daniel had taken a strong stand, but could he maintain it? How long before Patricia found a way to wear him down? That evening, Rachelle's phone rang, an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello? Rachelle? This is Robert, Daniel's father."
Wouldn't be satisfied with that outcome. He wanted reconciliation, wanted his mother to change, wanted everyone to get along. Rachelle was less optimistic. At work, Rachelle threw herself into her projects, finding solace in design problems that had clear solutions, unlike the messy emotional situation at home. Her boss, Karen, noticed her distraction during a team meeting. "Rachelle, can we talk in my office?" Karen asked after the meeting ended. Rachelle followed her, worried she'd been slipping in her work, but Karen's expression was kind as she closed the door. "Is everything okay? You seem stressed lately." Rachelle considered lying, maintaining her professional facade, but she was tired of pretending everything was fine. "I'm
dealing with some family issues. My mother-in-law and I are having problems." Karen nodded knowingly. "Say no more. I've been there. My ex-husband's mother made my life hell for years. It's one of the reasons he's my ex." "I'm sorry. That must have been terrible." "It was. And the worst part was that my ex never fully stood up to her. He always tried to keep the peace, which meant I had to tolerate her abuse." Karen leaned against her desk. "Can I give you some advice? Don't let it fester. Deal with it head on, set firm boundaries, and make sure your husband is really on your side. Because if he's not, it will eat away at your marriage until there's nothing left." Rachelle thought about Daniel's confrontation with Patricia, his promise to protect her. He is on my side. He confronted her about her behavior. Good. That's a good start. But confronting her once isn't enough. He needs to maintain those boundaries consistently, even when it's uncomfortable, even when she cries or guilt trips him. That's the real test. Rachelle left Karen's office feeling both reassured and worried. Daniel had taken a strong stand, but could he maintain it? How long before Patricia found a way to wear him down? That evening, Rachelle's phone rang, an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "Hello?" "Rachelle, this is Robert, Daniel's father." Her heart sank. "Hi, Robert. Is everything okay?" "I wanted to call you directly. Patricia doesn't know I'm calling." He sounded nervous, speaking quickly. "I want you to know that I don't agree with what she's done. The way she's treated you, the things she said, it's not right." Rachelle was stunned. Robert had always seemed passive, always deferred to Patricia. She'd assumed he agreed with her, or at least didn't care enough to disagree. "Thank you for saying that," Rachelle said carefully. "It means a lot." Patricia has always been strong-willed. When we first got married, I thought it was admirable. But over the years, it's become something else. Something controlling. I've watched her do this to Daniel his whole life, trying to control every decision, every relationship. I thought when he got married, she'd finally let go, but she's gotten worse. "Why are you telling me this?" Robert was quiet for a moment. "Because I'm tired of being complicit. Because Daniel deserves to be happy. And because you seem like a good person and you don't deserve what she's putting you through. I can't control Patricia, but I can at least let you know that you're not crazy. You're not imagining things, and you're not alone." Rachelle's eyes filled with tears. "Does Patricia know how you feel?" "We've had some very difficult conversations this week. I told her she needs to apologize to you and accept your marriage. She's, resistant. She believes she's right, that she's protecting Daniel. I don't think she's capable of seeing how much damage she's doing." "What do I do, Robert? How do I deal with someone who won't listen to reason?" "You do exactly what you're doing. You stand your ground, you let Daniel stand up for you, and you give Patricia a clear choice. Accept you or lose her son. It's the only language she understands." He paused. "And Rachelle, don't let her break you. Don't let her make you doubt yourself or your marriage. That's what she wants." After they hung up, Rachelle sat in silence, processing the conversation. Robert's call was unexpected, but deeply validating. Patricia's own husband recognized that her behavior was wrong. That meant something. When Daniel came home from work, Rachelle told him about the call. Daniel looked surprised, then moved. My dad called you? He never goes against my mom like that. He said he's tired of being complicit. Daniel sat down, looking thoughtful. Maybe this is bigger than just us. Maybe my dad has been suffering under her control too, and our situation is forcing him to finally acknowledge it. Do you think your mom will apologize? Daniel's expression darkened. Honestly, no. I think she's waiting for us to apologize to her. That's how she operates. In her mind, she's the victim. We're the ones who attacked her for caring too much. So what do? We stick to our boundaries. Sunday is the family dinner she mentioned in her text to you. We're not going. Daniel, are you sure? Maybe we should go try to talk things out. No. Daniel's voice was firm. She threatened you. She tried to force you to leave me. She doesn't get to pretend that didn't happen and have us show up for dinner like everything's normal. We're not going, and I'll call her tomorrow to explain why. Rachelle felt a mixture of relief and anxiety. She was glad Daniel was holding firm, but she knew this would escalate things with Patricia. The silence would end, and when it did, Patricia would not be happy. The next day, Daniel made the call. Rachelle could only hear his side of the conversation, but she could tell it wasn't going well. His voice rose in frustration several times, and the call ended with him hanging up abruptly. She's furious, he said, tossing his phone onto the couch. She said we're being disrespectful, that I'm letting you manipulate me, that the whole family will be disappointed. What did you say? I told her that the family can be disappointed if they want, but we're not coming until she apologizes to you and commits to respecting our marriage. She said she has nothing to apologize for. So I said, then we have nothing more to discuss. She must be furious. She is. But Rach, I meant what I said. I'm done letting her control my life. If she wants a relationship with me, it's going to be on our terms, not hers. That Sunday, Rachelle and Daniel stayed home. They made brunch together, went for a long walk in the park, and watched movies curled up on the couch. It was peaceful, intimate, exactly what they needed. But Rachelle's phone buzzed throughout the day with texts from Patricia's sister, Daniel's Aunt Martha expressing disappointment that they'd missed the family dinner. Then came a text from Daniel's brother Mark saying their mother was upset and asking what was going on. Daniel's cousin sent a message asking if everything was okay. Patricia was mobilizing the family, telling her version of the story, painting herself as the wronged party. She's turning everyone against us, Rachelle said, showing Daniel the messages. Daniel read them, his jaw clenched. Let me handle this. He sent a group text to his extended family. Mom and I are having some disagreements about boundaries and respect. We're working through it. Please don't let her involve you in our private family matters. We appreciate your concern, but this is between us. Some family members responded with supportive messages. Others went silent. It was clear that the family was dividing, choosing sides, exactly what Rachelle had feared. That night, lying in bed, Daniel held Rachelle close. He held her close. I'm sorry you're going through this. I'm sorry your mother is making this so hard. It's not your fault. It kind of is. I should have set boundaries with her years ago.
I should have stood up to her before we even got married. Instead, I let it build until it exploded. We're setting boundaries now. That's what matters. Do you ever regret marrying me? Daniel asked, his voice small. Regret getting tangled up in my dysfunctional family? Rachelle turned to face him in the darkness. Never. Not for 1 second. I love you, Daniel. And yeah, your mom is difficult. But you're worth it. We're worth it. Daniel kissed her, deep and grateful. I don't deserve you. Yes, you do. And I don't deserve someone who won't fight for me. But you are fighting for me. That means everything. They fell asleep in each other's arms, united against the storm, but they both knew the silence wouldn't last. Patricia was planning something, and when she made her next move, they would need to be ready.
Not explicitly, but she made it clear she's not backing down. She thinks I've turned you against her, and she's waiting for you to come to your senses and leave me. Daniel paced the apartment, his hands clenched into fists. This has to stop. I've tried being reasonable. I've tried giving her space to cool down and apologize, but she just keeps escalating. What are you going to do? I'm going to make something very clear to her. She's crossed a line coming here while I wasn't home. That's harassment, and I'm done playing nice. Daniel called his mother right then, putting the phone on speaker so Rachelle could hear. Patricia answered on the second ring. Daniel, darling, I'm so glad you called. Mom, stop. I know you went to my apartment today. I know you confronted Rachelle again. Patricia's tone shifted, becoming defensive. I simply wanted to talk to her, to try to resolve things. I thought if we could speak woman to woman. You showed up at our home uninvited while I wasn't there after we've explicitly told you we need space. That's not trying to resolve things. That's harassment. Harassment? Daniel, don't be ridiculous. I'm your mother. I have a right to... No, you don't have a right. You don't have a right to show up unannounced. You don't have a right to attack my wife. You don't have a right to try and break up my marriage. Those aren't rights. Those are violations. I can't believe you're speaking to me this way. After everything I've done for you. After everything I've done for you? Daniel's voice rose. You've spent the past month threatening my wife, manipulating my family, and trying to control my life. You've refused to apologize, you've refused to respect my boundaries, and now you've crossed a major line by going to my home without permission. It's hardly a crime to visit my son's apartment. It is when you're not visiting me. It is when you're there to intimidate my wife. Mom, I'm going to say this one more time as clearly as I can. You need to stop. You need to apologize to Rachelle. You need to respect our marriage, and you need to give us space. If you can't do those things, then we're going to have to go no contact. There was a sharp intake of breath on the other end. No contact? You would cut me out of your life completely? I don't want to. I love you. But I won't let you keep hurting Rachelle. I won't let you keep trying to destroy my marriage. So yes, if you can't respect my boundaries, then I will cut contact with you. You're choosing her over your own mother. I'm choosing my wife over your bad behavior. There's a difference.
You could choose to be part of our lives, Mom. All you have to do is apologize and treat Rachelle with respect. But you're choosing your pride and your need for control over having a relationship with me. That's your choice, not mine. Patricia was crying now. Rachelle could hear it in her voice. You're my mother. I give you life. I raised you. I sacrificed everything for you. And this is how you repay me? You didn't sacrifice everything for me. You controlled everything about me. There's a difference. And I'm grateful for the good things you did, Mom. But that doesn't give you permission to control my adult life or attack my wife. I won't apologize for trying to protect you. Then we're done here. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't show up at our apartment. When you're ready to apologize to Rachelle and respect our marriage, you can reach out. Until then, we need space. Daniel hung up before Patricia could respond. He stood there, phone in hand, breathing hard. Rachelle went to him and wrapped her arms around him. She could feel him trembling. That was the hardest thing I've ever done, he said into her hair. I'm so proud of you. She's never going to change, is she? Rachelle wanted to lie, to offer false hope, but Daniel deserved the truth. I don't know, maybe not, but you did the right thing. You protected us. You set boundaries. That's all we can control. Daniel pulled back, wiping his eyes. I feel like I just lost my mother. You set boundaries. She's the one choosing not to respect them. That's on her, not you. They hold each other for a long time, two people standing firm against a force that wanted to tear them apart. Rachelle knew this wasn't the end. Patricia wouldn't give up easily, but for now, they had protected their marriage, their home, their peace. And that was worth fighting for. The weeks following Daniel's ultimatum were strange and difficult. Daniel went through phases of grief, anger, relief, and guilt, sometimes cycling through all of them in a single day. He'd grown up with Patricia as the center of his universe, and her sudden absence left a void he didn't know how to fill. Rachelle did her best to support Daniel while also protecting herself from the lingering effects of Patricia's attacks. She started seeing a therapist, someone who specialized in family dynamics and boundary setting. The sessions helped her process the trauma of the past months and develop strategies for dealing with whatever came next. You've been through emotional abuse, her therapist, Dr. Lynn, explained during one session. Patricia's behavior, the threats, the manipulation, the attempts to isolate you, those are all forms of abuse. It's important that you acknowledge that and take care of yourself. Hearing it labeled as abuse was both validating and disturbing. Rachelle had minimized Patricia's behavior for so long, telling herself it was just typical mother-in-law friction. But it had been more than that. Daniel's family reacted to the situation in various ways. His brother Mark reached out, sympathetic, but confused. He'd experienced Patricia's controlling nature himself, but had never seen her escalate like this. Daniel's Aunt Martha sided with Patricia, sending Daniel a long email about honoring his mother and not being led astray by a woman. Daniel blocked her number after she started texting Rachelle directly with Bible verses about obedient wives. But there were unexpected allies, too. Robert called regularly to check on Daniel, carefully avoiding discussions about Patricia, but making it clear he supported Daniel's decision. Daniel's cousin Lisa, who had her own difficult relationship with Patricia, sent a supportive message. Good for you for standing up to her. I wish I'd had that courage years ago. The family was fracturing, and Rachelle hated that she was partly responsible. But as Dr. Lynn reminded her, She wasn't responsible for Patricia's choices. Patricia had created the situation through her own actions. At work, Rachelle found solace in a big project for a new client. The work was challenging and creative, requiring all her focus. Her boss, Karen, checked in regularly, offering both professional guidance and personal support. "You seem better," Karen observed one afternoon. "More centered." "I'm working on it. Therapy helps. And Daniel has really stepped up." "That's good. That's what should happen. My ex never did that, which is why he's my ex." 3 weeks after Daniel had cut contact with Patricia, a letter arrived. Not an email or a text, but an actual letter on expensive stationery addressed to both Daniel and Rachelle. Daniel opened it with shaking hands, while Rachelle looked over his shoulder. The letter was typed, formal, and utterly unrepentant. "Dear Daniel and Rachelle, I have spent considerable time reflecting on our recent conflict. I understand that you feel I overstepped in my concern for Daniel's well-being. I want you to know that everything I have done has been motivated by love and a mother's desire to protect her child. However, I recognize that you have made your choice to prioritize your marriage over your family relationships. While I disagree with this choice and believe it is misguided, I will respect your wishes for space. I hope that in time, when emotions have settled, we can find a way forward that allows me to remain part of my son's life without the current hostility. I am your mother and mother-in-law, regardless of our current estrangement. Patricia." Daniel read it twice, then set it down carefully. He still doesn't get it. Rachelle read the letter again, noting every passive-aggressive phrase, every refusal to take responsibility. She's not apologizing, she's making herself the victim. Prioritize your marriage over your family relationships, as if you're not family, as if protecting my wife means I'm abandoning my family. What do you want to do? Daniel was quiet for a long moment. "I'm not going to respond. She didn't apologize. She didn't acknowledge what she did wrong. She just wants to maintain her narrative that she's the wronged party. Until she can actually take responsibility, we have nothing to discuss." Rachelle felt relief and sadness in equal measure. Relief that Daniel wasn't backing down, sadness that Patricia was incapable of the introspection needed to make things right. That weekend, Daniel and Rachelle drove to visit their parents, something they did monthly. Rachelle's mother, Maria, greeted them with warm hugs and the smell of her famous chicken adobo filling the house. Her father, Tony, clapped Daniel on the back and asked about work. Over dinner, Rachelle's parents asked gently about the situation with Patricia. Daniel had told them the basics during a previous visit, wanting to be honest about why they might not be attending certain family events. "How are you holding up, mijo?" Maria asked Daniel, using the affectionate term she had adopted for him since the wedding.
That night, as they lay in bed, Daniel's phone buzzed with a text. He glanced at it and frowned. "It's Caroline," he said. Rachelle's stomach tightened. What does she want? Daniel showed her the message. "Hey, Daniel, long time no talk. Want to grab coffee and catch up?" "That's weird timing," Rachelle said carefully. "Yeah." Daniel typed a response. "Sorry, I'm not interested in catching up. Please don't contact me again." He blocked her number and tossed his phone aside. My mom probably put her up to it. One more attempt to insert Caroline into my life. "I'm sorry you're dealing with this." "Don't be. Every time my mom tries something, it just reminds me why we set boundaries. She's not going to manipulate me anymore. Not with guilt, not with flying monkeys like Caroline, not with anything. Rachelle kissed him, grateful for his certainty. The road ahead might still be difficult, but they were walking it together, and that made all the difference. 3 months after cutting contact with Patricia, Daniel and Rachelle began to find a new normal. The constant anxiety that had permeated their marriage began to ease. Without Patricia's interference, they could just be a couple, navigating life's challenges together without a third party trying to drive them apart. Daniel continued to grieve his relationship with his mother, but the grief became less acute with time. He started his own therapy sessions, working through the years of conditional love and control that had shaped him. Dr. Martinez, his therapist, helped him see patterns he'd never recognized before. "Your mother's love was always transactional," Dr. Martinez explained during one session that Daniel later recounted to Rachelle. "You got approval when you met her expectations, and withdrawal when you didn't. That's not healthy love. Healthy love accepts people as they are. I spent my whole life trying to earn her approval, and I never could. Nothing was ever enough, because it wasn't about you. It was about her need for control. You could have been perfect in every way, and she still would have found something to criticize, some way you fell short." This realization was both liberating and painful. Liberating because it meant Daniel could stop trying to fix whatever was wrong with him. Painful because it meant that his mother might never be capable of the unconditional love he deserved. Rachelle watched Daniel heal, watched him become more confident and more himself without Patricia's constant judgment hanging over him. He laughed more easily. He made decisions without second-guessing himself. He stopped apologizing for taking up space. Their marriage grew stronger too. They implemented what Dr. Lin called intentional connection, setting aside time each week for date nights, deep conversations, and quality time without distractions. They talked about everything: their hopes, their fears, their dreams for the future. One evening over dinner at their favorite Italian restaurant, Daniel said, "I want to tell you something." Rachelle set down her fork, giving him his full attention. "I'm grateful for everything that happened with my mom." Rachelle blinked in surprise. "Really? I mean, I wish it hadn't been so painful. I wish she could have been the mother I needed, but what happened forced me to finally break free from her control. It forced me to choose you, to choose us, to choose the life I want instead of the life she wanted for me. And I'm grateful for that." Rachelle reached across the table and took his hand. "I'm grateful too, for you, for your strength, for your choice to stand by me. It wasn't really a choice, or if it was the easiest choice I've ever made. You're my partner, Rach, my person. Of course I choose you." Later that night, as they walked home hand in hand through the city streets, Rachelle felt a sense of peace she hadn't experienced in months. They'd been through a trial by fire, and they'd emerged stronger. But the peace was interrupted by a phone call. Daniel's phone rang, and he looked at the screen. "It's my dad." Daniel answered on speaker. "Hey, Dad." "Daniel?" Robert's voice sounded strained. "I need to tell you something. Your mother, she collapsed today. She's in the hospital." Daniel stopped walking. What happened?" "The doctors think it was stress-related. High blood pressure, maybe a minor heart episode. They're stable now, but they're running tests." Rachelle watched Daniel's face cycle through emotions: concern, fear, guilt, and something that looked like resignation. "Is she asking for me?" Daniel asked quietly. "She hasn't said anything directly. But Daniel, I think she needs you. I think this whole situation has been affecting her more than she's admitted." After the call ended, Daniel stood on the sidewalk frozen. Rachelle waited, letting him process. "I should go see her," Daniel said finally. "She's in the hospital. Do you want me to come with you?" Daniel considered. "Would you? I know that's asking a lot." "Daniel, she's your mother, and she's in the hospital. Of course I'll go with you. If she doesn't want me there, I'll wait outside." They went the next morning. Robert met them in the hospital lobby, looking older than Rachelle had ever seen him. He hugged Daniel tightly, then surprised Rachelle by hugging her too. "Thank you for coming," he said. "Both of you." "How is she?" Daniel asked. "Physically, she'll be fine. Emotionally..." Robert trailed off. "She's been struggling, Daniel. This whole situation with you two has been eating at her. She won't admit it, but I can see it. Dad, I'm not going to apologize for setting boundaries, even if it stressed her out. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm just saying maybe this is a chance to talk to her. Really talk." Patricia was in a private room, sitting up in bed, looking smaller somehow in a hospital gown instead of her usual designer clothes. When Daniel walked in, her face crumpled. "Daniel," she whispered. "Daniel?" Daniel approached the bed carefully, Rachelle standing in the doorway, ready to leave if things got hostile. For a long moment, no one spoke. Then Patricia said, "I've been thinking a lot these past few months about what I said, what I did." "And?" Daniel prompted.